So, Acharya, are you in a position to read?
Yes, Rangada.
Okay. The Godward emotions.
The Godward emotions. The principle of yoga is to turn Godward all or any of the powers of the human consciousness so that through that activity of the being there may be contact, relation, union. In the yoga of bhakti, it is the emotional nature that is made the instrument. Its main principle is to adopt some human relation between man and the divine being, by which, through the ever intenser flowing of the heart's emotions towards him, the human soul may at last be wedded to and grow one with him in a passion of divine love. It is not ultimately the pure peace of oneness or the power and desireless will of oneness, but the ecstatic joy of union which the devotee seeks by his yoga. Every feeling that can make the heart ready for this ecstasy, the yoga admits. Everything that detracts from it must increasingly drop away as the strong union of love becomes closer and more perfect.
Very small para and very clear also. Do we need to go through it? It's very clear what he's saying. You know? Anyway, quickly I'll read through. Okay. There's one particular, every feeling that needs a little bit of a commentary. Okay. The principle of yoga is to turn Godward all or any of the powers of the human consciousness so that through that activity of the being, there may be contact, relation, union. Now look at again the gradation in Srim's language. He takes into account all the different grades of contact with the divine. Maybe there is contact. So you may have a contact once and then afterwards for a long time you may not have any contact. A contact is an experience. Suddenly you realize that there is something much more than your ordinary life. Okay, like so many people had that in the beginning, an experience. Then a relation, which is much longer lasting than contact. Contact can be instantaneous or it may last for a day or 2 days or 3 days. Sometimes it can last even for 6 months. Okay, but relation will be slightly longer. Okay, and the relation is still not yet union. Union is absolutely, you have become one with the divine. So his grade is there. Contact, relation, union. Now he's saying any of the powers of human consciousness. So he is implying here it can be through the mind, and the power of the mind is knowledge, and the power of the vital is it can be a power also, and it can be also love. Okay, it can be a relation of friendship. Okay, that also is a power. All these are powers. Then at the physical level also, there's the body has a certain power. Huh? The power of stability, of permanence. Those are also powers of the body. So that's what the Hatha Yoga tries to do. So all these, yoga can be done by all these methods of the human cause. So that through that activity, the activity of mind, the activity of vital, activity of the almost physical. Okay. In the yoga of bhakti, bhakti is devotion. In the yoga of bhakti, it is the emotional nature that is made the instrument. And the emotional nature is situated in the heart region. Okay. The mind region is at the highest level, brain, and the emotional nature is at the heart level. But the vital also has got two parts. There is a higher vital and there is a lower vital. The lower vital is usually very muddy and also impure. The emotional part, although the emotions are purer, they are still human emotions and they are not very perfect. Okay? Human love is much nobler than many other types of love, physical love, for instance, but it is not perfect, very far from perfect. Emotional nature that made the instrument. Its main principle, the principle of Bhakti Yoga, is to adopt some human relation between man and the divine being. Note the word human relation. Okay? It can be a relation of father and son. It can be a relation of mother and son. It can be a relation of father and daughter, and it can be a relation of mother and daughter. It can be, or a friendship. Okay, it can be a relation of friendship. It can be a relation of even acquaintance. Okay, that also is a human relation. That acquaintance means contact. Okay, so faintly you know, and you know that he is there. Okay, so all these relations are there, by which through the ever intenser flowing of the heart's emotions towards him, the human soul may at last be wedded to and grow one with him in a passion of divine love. So he has started with emotions. Then now he is talking of the love and wedded. So he is using an image. Okay. So when there is a wedding, you are much more allied to your partner. But now it has become absolutely one. In the human level, it is very rare, but some marriages do last forever. It's true. Okay, there are cases where that happens, and in this passion of divine love, you become one with the divine. He has used the word wedded. Okay, so it is not ultimately the pure peace of oneness or the power and desireless will of oneness. Now, note the, so when he's talking of the, it is not ultimately the pure peace of oneness, the path of knowledge. The path of knowledge gives you peace of oneness. Or the power and desireless will of oneness is the Karma Yoga. Okay? Power and desireless will of the Karma Yoga. It is not this, it is Bhakti Yoga. But the ecstatic joy of union, which the devotee seeks by his yoga. So see how Srivamdar uses different words, but you have to get through and see. When he's saying pure peace of oneness or the pure peace of oneness, he means the Jnana Yoga. Or the power and desireless will of oneness, he means the Karma Yoga. So it is not these, but it is the Bhakti Yoga, ecstatic joy of union, which the devotee seeks by his yoga. Every feeling that can make the heart ready for this ecstasy, the yoga admits. Okay? So it can be, as I said, it can be a period of love, it can be a relation of all the relations that exist in the human being is also possible. There is one feeling which is rare in spiritual life, and that was there. I have only come across only once. That means we know that Saint Catherine, for instance, viewed Christ as her husband. So a relation of love through marriage, that is one relation. A relation of friendship, that is there between Sudama and Krishna. Okay, they were friends. Then there is the relation of intense friendship, like in the case of Sri Krishna and Arjuna in the beginning. Later on, it became something else. So all these are possible, and every feeling is saying. So even enmity, okay, can become enmity, and even dislike can become later on a relation which is turns into the divine relationship. I know in ashram there is a case like that. Okay, and there are many other cases also where enmity is there first and then turns into adoration and union. I'll give you one example from Christendom, Christ. Okay, Peter. No? So as he was walking one day, and he was against Christianity. They were trying to spread Christianity, and Peter was walking in the road, and one day suddenly he heard a voice saying, "Why do you fight against Christianity? Why do you fight against me?" Later on, he realized that it was Christ's voice, and he turned around. And Peter became one of the greatest disciples of Christ. Now we know that. Okay. So, Sonki, with your background of Christianity, did you know the story?
Yes, Rakata.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. That's the famous one. And not Peter. That's Saint Paul.
Yes, same. Okay.
Saint Paul.
Saint Paul. And he was, like Christ said, I will build my, on this rock, the rock of
That's Peter. That's
Yeah.
Peter, Rakada. The rock is Peter, and the one who fall down under the voice and totally converted into Christian from the persecutor, that's the Saint Paul.
That's right. So that is one example from Christianity. And in our Hindu scriptures, there is one Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He was around 400 years earlier. He was in the Bhakti movement, okay? And the Vaishnavism started with him. And there were two drunken people, Jagai and Madhai, who even attacked him once, okay? They were drunk and they attacked him. Later on, they became one of his, both of them became disciples of Sri Chaitanya. So that is one another example from ours. And I'm giving you one more example from the ashram itself. That man spoke to me himself. Okay. So it's very interesting. He was a very materialistic sort of man. He was a Bengali man and he was very materialistic. And he was posted in the north of India and he was in the geological department. Okay. So I have written the story in the Mother India and it is published. Okay. But I'll tell you in brief. One day he was there and his boss was a devotee of Mother. And there was a calendar of Mother hanging in the room. Okay. And he was, when the boss went for a break, bathroom break, he started looking at that picture and he was wondering why this man is using this picture. I don't believe in spirituality. What is all this nonsense? You must be materialistic. You must keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. Okay? All this is nonsense. Then what happened was, suddenly when he looked again, he found that the picture is alive. It is moving. There is movement. And it was a winter day and all the windows were closed. So there could not have been any wind. So he was wondering how it happened. And he said, no, I must be imagining, my head must be whirling around. And after some time, he looked again at it and it was living. Okay. So he was very puzzled. He didn't know what's happening. Then he went home at night. And in the morning, he used to always get up with a small radio, getting the 6 o'clock news in the morning from the radio. Then the first headline from the radio news that day was, the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram has passed away, 17th November, 1973. And then he said, "Arey, this is very strange. I saw that picture. Normally every day there is nothing, but today suddenly I saw it moving. And what happened?" Okay. So then he got interested. He said, "What is this? There must be some truth to it." Okay. Then he became a devotee. Okay. But the devotee took some time but I wanted to also just say briefly that when an event like that happens in the physical world, there are tremendous repercussions in the physical world. Okay. When Sri Aurobindo passed away, there was this golden light on his body for 5 days. Okay. In the physical world. Then when Mother passed away, many people, they started, it made a difference in their life. And this man, he actually had the experience of this. I remind you also of when Raman Maharshi passed away, there was a fantastic thing in the physical world. There was this huge shooting star that went in the sky, long. Shooting stars are very short, no? 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. But this one went on for 15, 20 seconds long across the sky. Okay. We were in the playground at that time and we saw that. And I remember seeing this. And Mother said, "Oh, a great soul has passed away." So my point is that he participated in that event of Mother passing away in the physical world. There were repercussions. Okay. Other repercussions must have been there, but we don't know what they are. But we know a few things. We know that some people got completely converted and some people also were tremendously helped it made a U-turn in their lives. Okay, so this is the thing that happens. So enmity also can be turned into. So I give you 3 examples. So, every feeling that can make the heart ready for this ecstasy, the yoga admits. Everything that detracts from it must increasingly drop away as the strong union of love becomes closer and closer and more perfect. Now, one little comment. Just because enmity can ultimately give you, it doesn't mean to say that you should take that path. Someone asked him, they said, no, you certainly not. You must be love and devotion and closeness to the divine and not enemy. That's a it happens to some people, but it should not happen to everybody. Okay, so everything that detracts from it must increasingly drop away as the strong union of love becomes closer and more perfect. Okay, so very small para. So okay, you read the next one.
This reminds Rangada.
Yeah, tell me.
This reminds us of that aphorism of Sri Aurobindo. If you can't give me the embrace of a lover, give me the embrace of a wrestler.
Wrestler,
Aphorism.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. So that's what it means.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
you complete first, Rangada.
Yes. No, it's very interesting. And that's what I mean by every feeling. Okay, so everything can be turned to the divine. After all, in the Indian system, nothing is there which is not divine. Everything is divine, including the mud. Okay, including the, as I like to put it very dramatically, even the worst possible excreta of the dog, that also is divine. So naturally, you contact the divine. Even with enmity, there can come the divine. The divine can come. So it's very interesting, and it's interesting aphorism that Archana told. If I can't get the embrace of the lover, I will get the embrace of the wrestler. Okay, so that also is there. Okay. So
And
okay,
Rangada,
yeah.
just I wanted to. There is a Hindi book, Uttar Yogi Sri Aurobindo by Shiv Prasad Shukla. So in that book, the author starts saying that I started reading Sri Aurobindo because I wanted to defy all that he said.
Oh.
Yes. And then he says, when reading through his writings, I became an ardent devotee, I don't know. And it's a book in Hindi, one of the popular books about Sri Aurobindo, and it's written in very fluid language. So it suddenly, when he was talking about this, I suddenly remembered about that book.
Yeah, that's it. And let us remember that Mother and Sri Aurobindo also, Mother definitely was against Christianity right from the beginning, because she did not like some of the concepts there. And Sri Aurobindo was basically a materialist to begin with. Okay, he had grown up and he didn't believe in all these things. But when he came to India, a whole series of experiences started. So he got, finally, absolutely he became. So you can start from the opposite, but it's better not to start from the opposite. Okay, Sumki, read the para. All the feelings.
Yes, just one thing, about the many doctrines of Christianity, many doctrines of Christian doctrines, I thought that even if after long years of my past, as a Christian, I thought they still doesn't make sense. I thought like that. But Sri Aurobindo, actually, he mentioned the major, the Christian doctrine thing, like a Trinity and the holy, soul thing. And what he says is really, make me think it does make sense.
Yes, that's right. There are many. Sri Aurobindo also mentions 2 things: the transubstantiation, the blood and flesh of Christ. Okay, is the wine and the food. That thing also, that conception is there in Christianity. But there's also the Immaculate Conception. So that also Sri Aurobindo finds it a little too far-fetched. Yeah. In the physical world, conception cannot take place in the immaculate manner in that way. Okay, that conception is possible only with the divine self-creation without any help. So anyway, and by the way, it's not only Christianity. All religions have their limitations and foolish ideas. Okay, the Vedanta is not a religion. Huh? It's not a religion at all. It is, but in Hinduism, we have a lot of wrong ideas and wrong practices. Okay, so the treatment of the child widows. Okay, the caste system. There's a truth in the caste system, but it has been completely misapplied, and it's absolutely horrible the way it is practiced. So these things exist in all religions. Religion is the first step towards God, but it's full of imperfections and wrong ideas and wrong conceptions. It's for every religion. There's not a single religion which is absolutely perfect. That is spirituality. When you come to spirituality, all these wrong ideas in religions drop away. That's why through religion, certainly one can progress to spirituality. That is possible. That is very often it happens. The famous case of Bernadette, okay, a young girl, she also had the experience of Mother Mary. Anyway, let's read the next para. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, read.
All the feelings with which religion approaches the worship, service, and love of God, the yoga admits, if not as its final accompaniment, yet as a preparatory movement of the emotional nature. But there is one feeling with which the yoga, at least as practiced in India, has very little dealing. In certain religions, in most perhaps, the idea of the fear of God plays a very large part, sometimes the largest, and the God-fearing man is the typical worshipper of these religions. The sentiment of fear is, indeed, perfectly consistent with devotion of a certain kind, and up to a certain point. At its highest, it rises into a worship of the divine power, the divine justice, divine law, divine righteousness, and ethical obedience, on all the reverence for the Almighty Creator and Judge. Its motive is therefore ethical religious, and it belongs not so strictly to the devotee, but to the man of works moved by a devotion to the divine ordainer and judge of works. It regards God as the king and does not approach too near the glory of his throne unless justified by righteousness or led there by a mediator who will turn away the divine wrath for sin. Even when it draws nearest, it keeps an odd distance between itself and the high object of its worship. It cannot embrace the divine with all the fearless confidence of the child in his mother or of the lover in his beloved, or with that intimate sense of oneness which perfect love brings with it.
Okay, so this is an interesting para. He is now talking of the fear of God. And this is a very interesting thing. People, when they want to praise somebody, they say, oh, he's a very good man. He's a God-fearing man. So, rather interesting. And Shemli is saying there is a certain justification in the beginning. Okay? Because if there is a king, okay, or your boss, then you like him and you love him, but you're also afraid of him because he may punish you. Okay? So in the beginning, the fear is slightly justified. That's what Shemli is saying. We'll read each sentence and we'll see what he's saying. Okay, so all the feelings with which religion, not spirituality, religion approaches the worship, service, and love of God, the yoga admits. Okay? All feelings can be admitted. If not as its final accompaniments, yet as preparatory movements of the emotional nature. So preparatory movement, even, as I said, even hate of the divine can be turned. Now, tell me, it's very interesting. Someone who hates the divine because of the practices that are being done around him, and someone who doesn't even think of the divine. Isn't there this, the one who hates the divine, at least he believes that he is there. So some sort of contact is there. Whereas in the other case, the perfect materialist, there is no contact at all. So even hate can be a preparatory movement. No? So it's very interesting. In fact, we discussed so many cases. Yet as preparatory movements of the emotional nature. But there is one feeling with which the yoga, at least as practiced in India, has very little dealing. Okay? Because in the Jewish tradition, for instance, Jehovah is one who punishes and also rewards. I think in other religions also this is there. If you do good, you will be rewarded. If you do bad, you will be punished. You will go to hell and burn in hell forever. So fear is natural in a religion. That's what Swami is saying. But in India, has very little dealing, because the divine is all love and sweetness. Okay. In certain religions, in most perhaps, there is again bringing in the idea. The idea of the fear of God plays a very large part, because if you fear something, then you won't do anything wrong. Okay, so fear also has got a role. Okay, however small and however perverse it may be of approaching to God, but that fear also is an element. The idea of the fear of God plays a very large part, sometimes the largest, like in the Jewish tradition. And the God-fearing man is the typical worshipper of those religions, these religions. The sentiment of fear is indeed perfectly consistent with devotion of a certain kind. Devotion of a certain kind. Okay? So when you think of your relation with a God or your boss or even your parent, okay, you may love your parent, but sometimes children are afraid of their parents. No? There is a fear because they may not approve of what I'm doing. So, of a certain type. Huh? They know the words that. Huh? With devotion of a certain kind. Both are there. Devotion, love is there, but also fear. The sentiment of fear is indeed perfectly consistent with devotion of a certain kind and up to a certain point. At its highest, it rises into the worship of the divine power, the divine justice, the divine law, the divine righteousness. So all these things, at the higher, if your conception of the divine is that he is powerful, that he is dispensing justice, and there's a law, and if you contravene the law, you will be punished. And divine righteousness, not anything wrong. Okay? So if your idea of divine is all these things, then fear is justified. Okay? And ethical obedience, virtue and sin, not to sin, because you will be punished by God. And awed reverence for the Almighty Creator and Judge. Okay? Any number of people, when they used to see Cerebro, there used to be awe. Okay? A slight distance is created in the beginning. Okay? An awed reverence for the Almighty Creator and Judge. Its motive is therefore ethico-religious. Okay? It's not spiritual, it's ethico-religious. Religious, but also ethics, morality. Morality's main plank is sin and virtue. So you must go to virtue and not sin. If you sin, you will be punished. And it belongs not so strictly to the devotee, but to the man of works, moved by a devotion to the divine ordainer and judge of his works. Now it is interesting. He's saying, for the devotee, that fear is rare, very, very rare. Okay? Because he is loving the divine. But to the man of works, okay, the one who is doing work, karma yoga, moved by a devotion to the divine ordainer and judge of his works, it regards God as a king and does not approach too near the glory of his throne unless justified by righteousness and led there by a mediator who will turn away the divine wrath from sin. So, if you are doing good, then you feel that, oh, I can approach God. But if you have done something wrong, then a certain guiltiness is there, and you will feel that you can't go to the divine because you might be punished. Okay? So, righteousness, moral sin, and virtue can get this idea of fear into you. Okay? Even when it draws nearest, it keeps an odd distance between itself and the high object of its worship. It cannot embrace the divine with all the fearless confidence of the child in his mother, or of the lover in his beloved, or with that intimate sense of oneness which perfect love brings with it. So, he has covered all the different grades of the feeling. Okay, so we have got 6 minutes left. So I don't know if we can read the next one. No, it's a very small one, so I'll read it. Okay, because we are only 3 today. I'm the third reader. I'm reading the next paragraph. The origin of this divine fear was crude enough in some of the primitive popular religions. Primitive is going back to the very early feelings. Okay, so with the savages and the before the main religions came into existence. It was the perception of power in the world greater than man, obscure in their nature and workings, which seemed always ready to strike him down in his prosperity and to smite him for any actions which displeased them. Fear of the gods arose from man's ignorance of God and his ignorance of the laws that govern the world. Okay? Even in the physical world, fear is the one comes from ignorance. When you don't know somebody, there is fear. But once you know somebody, fear will not be there. It attributed to the higher powers caprice and human passion. You view the divine like a human being. Okay? And caprice, willfulness. Okay? No, I can do whatever I want. Okay, caprice and willful human emotion, human passion. It made them in the image of the great ones of the earth, capable of whim, tyranny, personal enmity, jealous of any greatness in man, which might raise him above the littleness of terrestrial nature and bring him too near to the divine nature. With such notions, no real devotion can arise, except that doubtful kind which the weaker may feel for the stronger, whose protection he can buy by worship and gifts and propitiation and obedience to such laws as he may have laid upon those beneath him and may enforce by rewards and punishments. Or else, this submissive and prostrate reverence and adoration, which one may feel for the greatness, glory, wisdom, sovereign power, which is above the world and is the source, or at any rate, the regulator of all its laws and happenings. Note also interestingly that this punishment idea can go as far as in Islam. Okay? God himself is, the Quran is telling everybody that those who don't believe in Allah, he has no right to live. So he has to be killed. This is very much there in the Quran. And this is what most of the practitioners of Islam, they glide over it. They want to put it away. Okay? They don't take it as a serious defect. But this is the thing. How can God say that killing is justified? So it can go as far as that. Not punishment, but even killing. Okay, so we stop here today. It's very interesting, no? 3 paras. And Srivendra has dealt with all the different grades and the different nuances. It is very interesting. So shall we stop here today?
Yes, Rangada.
Yeah, we can stop. Okay.
Thank you, Rangana.
Okay.
Thank you, Rangana.